Today, I'll be discussing which is the better theme park in Ohio, Kings Island versus Cedar Point. Both parks are very good in their own right, but only one can be the king of Ohio. Also, before we hop in, sorry for a lack of posting videos. It's just that video ideas have been very hard to come around since it's the dead of winter. But once summer rolls around, I should be able to pump out a usual video every 3 to 4 days like I usually would. But yeah, sorry for that, and yeah, just keep sticking around. I'll be posting a lot more consistently moving forward. The rules for these videos have changed a little bit since I last made one of these. In that video, I did pros versus cons for each park, but for today, I will be doing a 5 sections for each of the different parks, and the winner of each section gets a point, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. The sections for today are staff, food, landscaping/park maintenance, operations, and of course, rides. But enough of the yap, let's dive in.
Way down.
Yeah.
First section we are doing today is landscaping. Landscaping might not be the thing that you look for in a theme park if you're deciding which park to go to, but a park with nice landscaping/maintenance is really what makes a park good and great. And I would say that both of these parks are pretty good. First, let's go to Cedar Point, where the main areas of the park are Gemini Midway, Frontier Town, Millennium Midway, Main Midway, and the Boardwalk. All these areas are so hit or miss for me. Let's start with the weakest one in the park being Millennium Midway and Gemini Midway. Both these areas are just so boring and uninspiring. They are just midways flooded with rides and concrete. These areas, especially Gemini Midway, need a change immediately. But there are good areas at the park too. The Boardwalk is a very fun area that was a much needed facelift. The area before was so boring with some new rides, much needed personality, and some refreshing new pathways and trees. Then the front midway, which is nothing special but has the front entrance, which is very cool, and passing by all the rides is also kind of cool. But the best area in the park is Frontier Town. The area has 2 of the best rides overall, is very nice overall, has great shading, and has some of the best food in the entire park that we can talk about later. To the next park, Kings Island, I believe also has some great areas. International Street is so beautiful, having all the buildings and shops, all being so colorful and cohesive is amazing. Plus, the cherry on top is the Eiffel Tower in the middle. Then you have Planet Snoopy, a great kids area with a lot of character, especially after the recent updates they made to that area. Another colorful area of the park is Adventure Port, which is strange but amazing. The area is quite small, but there is a color explosion of unique buildings. Area 72 is also very small, but the detailing is insane, and the aliens are super cool in my opinion. And the last and best in my opinion is Rivertown. It's very similar to Frontier Town, just being a overall very nice area to be in. It has some of the best rides in the entire park. It has great food. It's nice overall, having lots of shade and areas to sit around. But there are some bad ones, being Coney Mall and Action Zone. It's like the midways of Cedar Point, just being slabs of concrete and some rides, which are, it's kind of just lifeless. But I think overall the lands of Kings Island are just higher quality, so I'll be giving the first point to Kings Island. The next category is the ride section. Both of these parks are so elite and have not only one of the best ride collections in the United States, but the world. The mix of unique rides with different experiences, not only between each ride, but between different rides of each park, is just so good, especially since they're such in close proximity. First, let's go to Kings Island since they won the last category, and this lineup is a personal favorite. Every ride here is solid, and a lot of them are vastly underrated by the coaster community. Rides like Orion and Bat are insanely underrated in my opinion. Orion is a fun, smooth Giga that, even though was a big disappointment for many, is an amazing ride with some unique elements. Then you have Bat, which is so low to the ground and so intense that people forget that it kind of exists just being back there in the trees. Throw in many rides like Diamondback, which is a smooth airtime machine, The Beast, which is a one-of-a-kind experience, Mystic Timbers, which I do believe is still kind of overrated, but it's a low-to-the-ground barrage of floater airtime hills, and you have many other rides like Banshee, Racer, Adventure Express, and Flight of Fear, all being above-average rides when it comes to airtime, intensity, and other forces that make a ride spectacular. But there are some bad rides like Vertigo and Backlit Sun Coaster, which aren't that good and would be better to be removed. Overall, a great lineup. Cedar Point is next up, and many say that it's the best coaster lineup in the world. They have always been pioneers for new rides, and it shows in its crazy lineup with just amazing ride after amazing ride. Steel Vengeance, the best ride in the world to some, with an amazing mix of airtime and inversions. Maverick, a super whippy and intense ride. Millennium Force, the first ever Giga with impeccable speed. Gatekeeper, a smooth inversion-filled ride with great near misses. Raptor, a bone-crushing ride with some of the most intense elements in the entire park. Valraven, a underrated ride with amazing drops. Magnum XL200, the first ever hyper coaster, which I do think is overrated, but is still very innovative. And Gemini, an oldie and a goodie. And Top Thrill 2 and Siren's Curse, new for 2025, that look amazing and so good. as well as Cedar Creek Mine Ride and Rougarou that take up a lot of space but aren't that good. But the ride lineup isn't that perfect, being that it has Corkscrew, which is honestly a bottom 3 ride that I've ridden. But overall, the point goes to Cedar Point. I think that this collection is slightly deeper, and I like the coasters at the top a little bit more. Third category is one that ties into the ride slightly, but is very important, and that is operations. Operations are so important at theme parks like Cedar Point and Kings Island. Being able to churn through as many people as possible per ride is a must for these parks. And both are very good at it. Unlike Six Flags parks, most rides are opening and running at maximum trains while having a solid output for each ride. But we are going to start with Kings Island again, and there's our Immaculate. These are some of the best ops in the entire world, and other than Disney and Universal parks, there are only a handful that can go up against Kings Island when it comes to operation speed. During peak summer days, they are so fast. But I will say during the first couple of weeks when they first open, they are pretty slow, being that they are training new employees. But other than that couple of weeks, they're impeccable. But out of the 15 times or so I've been to Kings Island, I think I've only encountered a closed ride, which was the Beast, which was for closed maintenance, and Invertigo, which I don't really care about. They also have their best rides open no matter what, with at least 3 trains, which is amazing. Plus, all the operation crews are great, they're energetic, and I like all of them. They're quick and don't waste time at all. I will say the only flaw is that they do like to staple people a lot, though. On to Cedar Point, which is another high-class park when it comes to operations. The staff here definitely don't staple as much as they do at Kings Island, which is a big plus for a lot of people in the coaster community. But other than that, Kings Island does basically everything at the exact same level or even better. Some rides at Cedar Point don't open all day, which is terrible for visitors, and a lot of them are unannounced before the park actually opens. Like, there was a time that Magnum was running on one train all day. All day is insane. On one train ops, a usual 30-minute line turned to one that was over 2 hours, which is just unacceptable for a theme park of Cedar Point's size. But the actual speed of the operations, I would say for the most part, are on a similar level of Kings Island's. All the rides get sent out no later than a minute and a half, and they are pretty down to business most of the time. Also, one last thing, the Steel Vengeance crew is the greatest I've ever seen. Like, actually insane. The operations are so fast that they send out trains every 35 to 40 seconds consistently. They run through the line so fast and waste no time, which makes sense being that it's the most popular ride in the entire park. But in the end, I am giving the third point to Kings Island, putting them up 2-1. Category up next is one that doesn't make or break a visit, but helps a lot, is food. Obviously, you need food to survive, and because of that fact, parks upcharge their food an insane amount. But I won't really be talking about pricing, since each spot has its own prices, and they're all in a similar range anyways. So the main thing that I'll be talking about is quality of food and the different variety of restaurants and the food that you can get at each of those. Alright, we are going to start off with Cedar Point this time, and their food is pretty underrated. There are so many different food spots that are so high quality, and you can really tell it's been a main focus that the park has been investing in. They have created many stellar locations for food like the Grand Pavilion, which is awesome. A nice spot to rest and to get some very unique options of great food. Another amazing spot that they added in 2022 is in the back of the park, so it's a bit of a walk but has the best food in the park. It has steak, chicken tenders, potato wedges, which are all so high quality, and come free with a biscuit too. Not to mention many other spots around the park like Frontier Inn, Hugo's Pizza, and Back BQ, which are all spectacular, which each of them having their own eats from each other that complement each other a lot, each of them having different food varieties from the normal burgers and fries. But on to Kings Island, they are also very high quality when it comes to their food. Just like Cedar Point, they have been investing a ton of money recently in their food division, and has paid off very well. I love all the different spots around the park that they offer. Highlights across the park are the Chicken Shack, which has some of the best chicken tenders in the park, and is very similar to Cane's, but better in my opinion. The new for 2023 Mercado, which is a burrito spot, which is definitely unique. Miami River Brewhouse, which is a amazing sit-down spot with wonderful staff, with a lot on their menus like the usual burgers, chicken tenders, but you can also get salads, different appetizers, and nachos. La Rosa's Pizza, which has a handful of spots around the park, which has some very good pizza slices, and Fist House, which is a large, air-conditioned, almost food court kind of style location with Panda Express and La Rosa's, like I said earlier. Also, Fist House has some pretty good shows that you can watch while eat, so I don't know, if you like those, then check out that spot. The variety and quality between both these parks are amazing, but I'm gonna go with the upset here. I'm giving the fourth point to Cedar Point. I just love the different food options they've been adding, and it's just so nice to see. The last category for today, and probably the smallest one, is the staff. This is one that can make or break a visit depending on how the staff is for that day. Now, the way that I'm grading staff overall is just how nice they are, how quick they are, and how efficient and how they run the park overall. Since Cedar Point won the last one, I will be starting off with Kings Island, and Kings Island has some of the most amazing staff out of all theme parks. Now, there'll always be bad staff at every theme park that you go to, but I've never really encountered any bad staff at this park. They're all just nice overall. If you have any questions, they're happy to answer, and they're super efficient. They all work very well at all the food spots and actually do their jobs. They don't just sit there not helping out. They all do their parts, and it makes for a great experience. I've also seen that they're very good with kids, and all the staff members in the kids areas are some of the nicest people in the world. Plus, all the ride staff are super energetic and just love doing their job, which I think rub onto the guests a lot, which makes it a super fun experience. But on Cedar Point, it's a similar story overall. Most of the staff are really nice and operate very similarly. They all do their jobs well, which is obviously fantastic, but I will say one thing, that the Cedar Point guest services isn't really that good. A lot of the time, the staff there can help you on certain things, but not so helpful on other things that you think that, like, they could do pretty fast. But I think that it could be a lot better at the current moment. But other than that, the staff at all restaurants are good, very, very efficient with most of the food, and get your orders right most of the time. Then the operations staff are very hit or miss. You have some staff that love their jobs, like I said previously with Kings Island, while others just don't seem they want to be there and kind of just there for the paycheck. But overall, the final point and the tiebreaker will be going to Kings Island. I just think that the park is just operated at an elite level compared to Cedar Point, and the operations staff for all of their rides for the entire trip are just a lot better and an underrated factor of this park. In the end, Cedar Point had 2 points being food and rides, and Kings Island had 3 points with staff, operations, and landscaping. So that means Kings Island does take the victory over Cedar Point, which might be surprising to some. Now, it does depend on what you want in a theme park. Like, if you just want rides, then Cedar Point is better, but for an overall experience, Kings Island is the much better park. Thanks for watching. Tell me if you like the format, and which of these two parks are better in your opinion. But other than that, have a good day.